Hi everyone, this is Shama. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. One of my juniors from Ravenshaw told me to make a video on this. So, on today's video, we are going to talk about some thrillers. So, basically, I have listed out seven or eight psychological thrillers. There are two types of thrillers, psychological thrillers and crime thrillers, but I have listed out psychological thrillers in this video because there are some crime thrillers I am going to talk about in another video. Psychological thriller actually deals with the psychology of a crime or a criminal and whatever is happening in the mind, which is very nice to read, and how they act according to their psyche. It's a very good genre, and this is like crime thriller is very interesting to read, and these are some page turners, and these are some of the best books that you can start reading from. The first psychological thriller we are going to talk about is Verity by Colleen Hoover. Uh, Colleen Hoover has never touched this genre, psychological thriller, because she is more like the romance and young adult writer. But when she wrote this very psychological thriller, it's very amazing. It can keep you hooked to the book from the very first page, because this book starts with a girl who is a writer but not a very famous one, but now she is actually writing a book for someone else who is called Verity, who is a very famous writer. And she goes to her house, and then she goes through her contents and goes through her laptop and all the copies she has already written. And now she finds out something which is very shocking to her, and those things are so shocking that you would have goosebumps all over your body, because how one can do this. So this is a book I would highly suggest you to read, and I just loved this book like anything, and this was very fascinating to read. A woman's mind cannot be read, and whatever happens in the end is just a open ending. You can interpret this as you like, and according to your psyche. That's why I loved this book so much. The next writer is a very new writer, and he has written just two books, but both of his psychological thrillers are equally interesting and equally amazing. The writer is Alex Michaelides. I have The Maidens, but The Silent Patient is also a very nice book. Silent Patient actually deals with a patient who has not been talking since she had killed her husband, and then a doctor, a psychoanalyst comes in, and she started talking to him, and whatever unravels after that is so shocking. The plot twist was epic. I Nobody was expecting that to come, and it was very interesting to read. It was one of the best books in psychological thriller genre I have read, to be honest. This book, Maidens, is a book about a woman who just lost her husband, and now she gets a call from her niece, and she calls her to Oxford or Cambridge, and there she finds out certain things which changed her whole life. Her whole life has become meaningless after she found out that truth, and the book is all about that. There is also a group of students which is called the Maidens, by a certain professor who is teaching them Greek, and there are so many references to Greek mythology and Greek terms and Greek legends. You would love this book if you want to be acquainted with Greek terms and Greek mythology. And this book is equally amazing, and this is a highly suggested book from my side. Next in line, we have the book called How to Kill Your Family by Bella Mackie. This book I have already talked about in one of my previous videos. In the very title is so amusing that I just had to read this book. And in this book, the girl is actually killing her family members one by one. Why, you'd get to know in the book itself. And everything was going just fine until that plot twist comes in, and it would change the track of the whole book. And this was really satisfying when the plot twist comes in, and you would actually feel that psychic work in the whole book, and it was really amazing. Please do give it a read if you want something to give you thrills. When I'm talking about psychological thrillers, she is my favorite psychological thriller writer of all time. She is Gillian Flynn. Now, I have read two books by Gillian Flynn. First is The Gone Girl, which is my all-time favorite books, which got stolen. I'm very sad about that still. And the second book is The Sharp Objects. That book is a little bit less favorite, but The Gone Girl is like, it's like my heart and soul. The Gone Girl is a book deals with a girl who is actually disappears from her house, and the husband is looking for her with the help of the police. But what happens to the girl is very fascinating. It would give you chills, because that is very I cannot stop myself to laugh, because whatever happens, it would just make you like, what the hell just happened right now. And I would highly suggest this book to you, because this is truly my favorite psychological thriller. It wouldn't make you bore, it wouldn't make you stop reading that book in any particular point. Now, Sharp Objects is a book about a girl who is not staying with her family, because there is this issue with her mom, and she has to go back to the place because there is murders happening of the kids, and she has to investigate because she is a journalist. Now, whatever she finds out and whatever she discovers during that course is very horrifying. And Sharp Objects has also a series with the same name. You can watch that too. And recently I am in love with Amy Adams, and it's by her only. And the plot twist is again very amazing, but not as amazing as Gone Girl. But you can go through both of the books if you want to read some good psychological thrillers, or any books by Gillian Flynn. There is another book called Grown Up, which I haven't read that yet. But I think you should give it a read to Gillian Flynn, because she is one of the best psychological thrillers writer I have ever came across. There are some writers who actually write just one or two books, and those books makes them famous. So one of those writer is Arvind Adiga. So his book is The White Tiger, and White Tiger is a book I have already talked about in one of my previous videos. I have talked about the film. White Tiger not only deals with the human psyche of a servant, but also talks about the servant and master relationship in India, which is a very good theme to begin with. Uh, when we are going into the psyche of Balram, what he thinks about his master, how he feels about the whole situation that is going on around him in his master's house, and what he decides, how he was behaved, everything everything has importance in the psyche of Balram. And now what he decides to do um, is very horrifying to think. Now he has become a very famous and very rich person after some years. And how he came from becoming a servant to a rich person, this is the story of Balram and his psychology. And this book is very nice to read because each page has the dark elements and it would keep you going on and on. I really love this book from an Indian writer because Indian writers are not into psychological thriller genre so much. So I think as a Indian you should give this book a read because it talks so much about Indian situations. Now let's come to a little bit difficult read on psychological genre. This is a short story. It's called Stone Mattress by Margaret Atwood. So this book is like a book which is very dark and humorous. Stone Mattress deals with the dark humor genre of literature, and it has some short stories which are very nice to read. And the very title of the book, Stone Mattress, it has a different story, and that story is actually my favorite because there is this woman in the book who is trying to kill a man because she has been tortured by the man. Why she wants to kill the man and how she was tortured is all about the story. There are other stories which are equally amazing. You can choose any story and start reading it, and you would be amazed to read how Margaret Atwood has dealt with the dark elements of the genre of killing. So when we are talking about psychological thrillers, how can we forget the book by Dostoevsky, which is Crime and Punishment. This book is one of the best psychological thrillers in classic because Crime and Punishment deals with a man who is called Raskolnikov and his psyche when he kills a woman. And every time a fear looms around him, he feels noticeable, he feels like he can get caught at any moment, at any time, and he is all the time afraid of his whole existence. Now whatever happens towards the end is very nice to know. This is a bit difficult read. If you are new to reading, then I would suggest not to read this book because it can make you a little bored because the language is tough. And but if you are someone who has been into reading for a while, you can give it a read. You will actually love this book.